December 2023, everybody wants to do cuttings. Do this method, it's gonna work. You're gonna have 90% plus success rate, probably 95%, but you gotta follow every single step, use the same soil, everything, and it's gonna work. This method works. So if you don't wanna become a scientist on how to root cuttings, just stick with one method. This method works great. So let's get to it. I'm gonna tell you how I do cuttings. And this last year was fantastic. I set them and it was trouble-free and I got great trees out of it. Let's go. Step one, get your cuttings. So this is a perfect specimen for a cutting. And let's take a look at this. This has, you gotta know which side is up. So you take your cutting, you want 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes. Oftentimes you get 3 nodes. So let's just pretend this one isn't here. That's about perfect size for a cutting. First thing you need to do is identify which side is up. So how to tell which side is up? You have a couple of dots, you have a big mouth and a couple of eyes. This side is up. Big mouth, and those eyes may be smaller to some different degree. Okay, so you got your cutting, you know which way it goes. You gotta clean your cutting. Turn on the sink, fill it with some room temperature soapy water. Take a nice brush, scrub brush, and just scrub all over, clean, and get all the dirt off your cuttings. Maybe somebody else cleaned them for you when you got them, they look clean. You can do this very quickly. Take your cuttings out of the sink, put them into a 9-to-1 bleach solution. 9 parts water, 1 part bleach. Dip them in that bleach solution for 10 minutes max. That's all you need to do. Take them out, set them down on a counter, on a towel, let them air dry. And this could be 2-3 hours. You want them very nice and dry. Take your cutting and write down the variety. Just write it down there. And if you think you might forget later, you can put a little arrow as to which side goes up. And these are acrylic paint markers. I'll put a link for these as well. Okay, now the next step is you get your cutting, look at what's gonna go beneath the ground. So this cutting right here, what I would do is cut off a tiny sliver. I don't wanna cut it real tight to this node. I wanna cut off a little sliver. These right here have been cleaned with a Lysol wipe between different cuttings. Snip that off. You're going to see nice bright green. See where it's brown up top, nice and green below? Means I need to snip right there. And that is perfect. The next step is to wrap the top. We have to anticipate what's going to go beneath. On this one, it has 4. 2 nodes are going to go above the ground, above the soil line, 2 beneath. It's going to look something like that. So I'm only going to wrap the top 2 nodes, keep these 2 below. You take this, and I'll put links for all these things in the description. You're going to take this tape, you're going to hold it with your thumb, and then you're going to stretch and wrap, stretch and wrap, stretch and wrap. Okay, no problem. Press it down. Do it again. Stretch and wrap. When you come over a little bump, you just wrap it down tight. Try to get the air out. Stretch and wrap. Stretch and wrap. Nice and tight. It's going to hold the moisture in. This is not going to dry out and kill off these buds during the 4 to 6 weeks that this is rooting. Next step, take some rooting hormone and pour it out just a little bit into a small container, glass or cup. And after you snip, you're going to set it inside and let the rooting hormone soak up right here, okay? Take some kind of container, maybe a glass. You're gonna pour a little bit of this out. This is Clonex rooting gel. Any of the different rooting, this is really good because when it's new, it adheres to these pretty nicely. Pour some out, maybe just a tiny little bit. It's kind of a big container. If you get a smaller one, it's better. And you're gonna set the cutting in that rooting gel so it starts to soak up, okay? You can use any kind of hormone. There's a bunch, I'll link a couple different ones down there to use. So now you start getting all your cuttings, wrapping them up. So you got a bunch of cuttings sitting in here. Meanwhile, you're gonna go to your next step. You're gonna get your containers. These are hard to get in small quantities. So you can use Solo cups. You can use Starbucks cups, are great, okay? But it's the same concept. I use these because I never have to move them, okay? There's a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's the efficiencies are all here, but some of the startup costs can be not so great if you're just doing a handful. So you can get a big Starbucks cup, that's fine. Poke holes in the bottom of the Starbucks cup, maybe use scissors and so forth to make some drainage holes. You can use scissors to cut along the edge, okay? So one of the big giant Starbucks cups or these, I'll try to find a link for these on Amazon, but if not, I'll find a link for FigBid and just put one of the sellers down there. I'll find somebody. All right, now you have this. Tape it up, okay? So the soil doesn't go through. Or skip that, go to the next step. You get your plastic bag. You can buy these, they're cheap, I'll put a link, or you can just use grocery bags, anything with no holes in it, okay? Put it around your container. Now we're gonna put the soil in and I'll show you how to mix the soil. Pro mix, get the HP if you can, doesn't matter if you get BX or whatever. HP means high porosity. Mycorrhiza, that's a magic ingredient. And you want 5 parts soil by volume. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 parts soil, 1 part water. Tap water's fine. With this ratio, it should be enough. Previous video, I showed you, took a lot of squeezing, a lot of guesswork, and folks in our figs were nice enough to point out, just do a ratio, take away some of that guesswork. If you're doing 30 cuttings, hands get pretty tired, so this does not seem like enough water until you're done, and then magically it is. So this will feel slightly wet, cold to the touch. Use that 5-to-1 ratio, no squeezing, saves a lot. This is why this is a little easier video to follow, I think. So let's go ahead and get this put in there. Tap it down, get it to settle. I wouldn't push it down with your hands. You want it to still be loose and moist. That's what's going to make the roots go crazy. I have found that this little gap in here, like you do for an outdoor pot, reduce that. Not as much as you can, but just reduce it. It'll settle down on its own, but basically bring the soil right up to the top. Maybe 1/8 of an inch. All right. So we have the soil. We have this that's been soaking. I'm going to, okay. Tap it down and get it to where we want. Take a marker, same size. We're going to push it down. This is how much this goes in there. So that's how much I'm going to push down. All right. And we take the cutting. I use Hormone, you don't have to. Pour it out. You don't want to cross-contaminate like this, but a little lazy right now. You can take Mycos. I need this later for other things, but you can put some down in there. Ready to go. You don't want the tape below the soil line. So this needs to be labeled or there's major danger. Label it, put the date on it. All right, got a little soil in there. You can clear that out, depending on how OCD you are. These bags are big. You can experiment, get different bags, whatever. This is just what I got, so that's what I'm using. And now you want a twist tie from bread or tomato tape. It's a little more flexible. And you want to bunch this around. And cinch it up there, nice and snug. Does not have to be tight like crazy, but moisture won't get out. It's nice, decently cinched, and you can move it around. Okay, this is ready to go. You can get the air out of it. Next step, you're going to get a big bin, big container, let's say something like this. You're going to set in multiple cuttings so you don't tip over. You're going to find a place in your house that you don't want a cold basement, but something that's 65 degrees, okay? That's perfectly fine. 72, 70, you don't want to put your cuttings in like some bedroom that's cranked up to 75. Okay, so you get your place out of the direct sun, tucked in, maybe tucked in a corner of a house that gets pretty much no direct light, and it actually can even be a closet. Okay, so and that's for the first 2 to 3 weeks. You get a heating mat. You take your heating mat, you plug it in to a temperature controlled heat mat thermostat. You plug the heat mat thermostat in, and then you take the sensor and you put the bin on top, take your sensor, put it inside underneath this. You take your cutting, you put the sensor underneath. So then the container, if it's flat, it's better. If it has like a bevel in there, little air gap, it's not so great. Anyway, so you want the temperature down here at the bottom to read 78. That's it, 78. So your heat mat will come on, turn off, and we'll warm this up till 78 degrees. All right, so you can mess with different containers, whatever you need to do. This has a lip on it, so the heat mat's not making direct contact, so you're not going to get as much, the heat won't go as easily, it won't transfer. So you want something that's flat, or you can put this right inside. Either way, you will get, I promise you, if you did everything here and you'd made no substitutions, within 3 weeks maximum, you're going to see roots. Okay, cuttings do matter, quality of cuttings do matter, but this will give you 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to have some roots coming out, poking out here, but they're going to be, you know, little ones. So you want to check on them, and I tend to pick mine up and touch them way too much and mess with them. A lot of people just leave them be. So basically you don't want light, bright light, window, much light at all, because it's going to encourage these nodes right here to start leafing out prior to the roots. So you want to keep that dark. And then basically in about 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start to see some roots down here at the bottom. You keep this closed tight like that. And then you're going to start to see these swelling, these buds swelling, and then starting to leaf out. Okay, so when you see the very tiniest leaf, like a leaf, you can see it. If it's been, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks, and you can see roots here, I move it to the light. Okay, and at that point you can put some shop lights on, and what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bring them out here, but at that point you can actually put lights on them and just give it a timer on your lights. You can go as much as you can put it on 24 hours, doesn't matter. I think the research says after 18 that's all you need. So I would do at the very beginning maybe just 8 hours. You could do 12. You really don't want to encourage this growth in the first 4 weeks too crazy, but in 4 weeks I've had leaves like that. So anyway, 2 to 3 weeks in the shade in your house. If you don't see any roots, keep this in a dark room on the heat mat. Once you see the roots and it's pushing 4 or 5 weeks and everything is still nice, you can let it, you want the buds to start moving before it goes to light. Okay, you have this cutting in light and it's starting to leaf out, and you have it on 8, 12, 16 for the timer with your lights. It can be simple lights, it doesn't have to be crazy grow light spectrum, whatever. Simple lights can do it. If you want to, I'll link where you can actually do some grow lights, so it's not a bad thing to get. So now this is starting to leaf out. I haven't opened this up yet. Okay, there's so much moisture in here. What you can also do, once your cutting's all ready and you're going to put it in the bin to put to root, you can go ahead and weigh this on a kitchen scale using grams. I put a little sticky, maybe you can put the sticky on there just to get an idea. They should all weigh about the same, however many cuttings you can do. Just to get an idea, write that down, have an idea. Okay, so that they're going to keep roughly that weight, not going to dissipate, it's not going to dry out. You have this in light, 12 hour on the timer, and it's starting to leaf out, and different stages, these are starting to leaf out. Okay, great. So it's still going to have roughly close to the weight that it had when you first set it to root. What you do want to do is check down in here to make sure that you don't have any leafing out below this line. If that happens, you can untie these. You're not going to break these if you untie it. You just don't want to be moving the cutting around. You can gently untie and then put the bag underneath where that is leafing out. You can press the soil down if you need to tuck it lower, and then tie it. Okay, so you do want to take a look to make sure that there's no leafing out below. So now your cutting is getting bigger and bigger, and it's 8, 10, 12 inches. But you can keep that a little slower if you want. If you don't have your lights on 18 hours, you can keep it just a little slower. It depends on whatever you want to do. I just blast mine with as much power as I have, and then the trees can get big fast. So now you're getting to where, how much water does this need? It starts to get kind of light. Okay, you look back at how much it weighed. and you're going to see that it's lost 20%, 30%, and so on. So what you do, it has roots. You can see the roots down here. They're nice and big and bright white, and then you can kind of see them die off a little bit when they get out to the air. But it's fine. They're all in here. They got all the moisture they need. So now when it's time to water, you're going to loosen it up, and then you can take a small amount of water using like a little syringe or a turkey baster. You loosen up this top. Loosen up this top, and then squirt the water out here. Out to the side, and it's going to pool at the bottom, and then it's going to take up some water. Okay, and you can even just at that point bunch up the bag like that, and it's fine. It's going to keep that moisture in there. So now you can just pay attention to how your cuttings are doing, and move the bag, squirt the water down here. It's going to take it up, and if you keep watering from the bottom this way, it's going to send the roots down to get more water. If you top water, that's very bad. You don't want to do that. If you don't kill it, that's good. You don't want to do that because bottom watering is going to make these roots go down. That's a better method. So at some point, the tree gets big enough, you kind of loosen this off, and you know they're getting pretty darn big. And then you're just tucking. You're kind of acclimating this down here just a little bit. The tree's made it. It's a cutting. It's going to do great. It's fine. The plastic bag can stay on 2 months. All right, but it's going to be gangbusters by then. So you don't want to put this in direct sunlight. What I would do, so now I really wanted these to take off. If I have the bag on it and I put it in direct sunlight, it's going to roast everything in here. So what I'll do is I'll pull the bag down, and I'll have sunlight in this window here, but I'll put a cardboard so the sun just hits the top. Okay, so that's one way to keep the temperature kind of ambient down here. And that's it. Now you got a tree that's ready to go. After about 2 weeks of the growth up top, you want to get Miracle Grow. That has 2 strengths, outdoor, indoor. You're going to take that indoor strength, and then you're going to, which is half the outdoor, you're going to take the indoor strength, cut that in half. Okay, so about once a week, you're going to want to start, when you water, you want to use that diluted Miracle Grow, and you're going to put it way at the bottom. You're not going to put it up at the top. And the tree is going to start to acclimate that. So this is about a couple of weeks after you start to see the growth. That's when you're going to want to use that diluted Miracle Grow. So that's half the indoor strength. You can go half again. That's fine. But every time you water it, which I'd say is about once a week, is you're going to use that diluted Miracle Grow solution. You can feel when the tree gets pretty light. If it's very light, then you can start giving it a little more water, and then you can tell. You just get a feeling for what, where it is compared to right now, and you can measure it. You can say, because right now is optimal moisture. So take that number, compare it later, just so you can feel how much you're watering it. Hey, thank you for watching version 2.0 of Comprehensive Fig Cutting Guide. I tried to address a bunch of questions I got after I did the first video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Good luck on your cuttings this year, and put in the comments how many cuttings you're rooting. That'd be great to see. All right, thanks folks. See ya.